I call the Honourable Clayton Cosgrave.
Mr Chairman, Dennis O'Rourke in his closing comments made a very interesting and valid point, and that is calling on the Minister to justify why, after sacking the board in the ECAN in 2010, then breaking his word along with the Prime Minister in 2013 when he said he would reinstate full democratic elections, why then to extend out further transitional provisions where you are appointing a large component, up to 6 I believe, with 7 or so elected councillors, mainly from, of course, as the Minister knows, rural areas. So one could make rather an interesting series of conversations about gerrymandering and other things. I could perceive where a number of those elected ECAN folk will stack up as opposed to those who are appointed. But Mr O'Rourke made the point, and it is a fair question that I put to the Minister as well. Why the extension? 2010, the Minister and the Chair sacks ECAN. 2013, he says, no, we'll reinstate them. Then he extends them again. He broke his word, absolutely broke his word. It's been reported on time and time and time again, both within this House. And then we move right through to 2019, and the Minister expects us to stand up and take him at his word again, take another Nick Smith sort of lotto ticket, and take him at his word again that he won't come back and pull the wool over Cantabrians. And the other interesting thing actually about this bill is last week, the Minister might recall that his colleague Jerry Brownlee, with a lot of consultation and a lot of cooperative effort, to give him credit, decided to yield to and take on board, I won't say yield, but take on board the concerns of Cantabrians and submitters in respect of the Regenerate Christchurch bill, in order to take the power back to a large extent, with Crown input, which is appropriate, to take control, if you will, in partnership with the government in respect of regenerating Christchurch. And I think that was a pretty good process. The Minister listened. He accepted that we've got smart people in Christchurch and in Canterbury who are chomping at the bit to actually shoulder more responsibility in these big issues, and they are huge issues in respect of the earthquake in Canterbury. And the political forces across the aisle acknowledged, and the parties listened to submitters and agreed that Cantabrians were smart, were responsible, and could be masters of their own destiny. Yet, fast forward a week later, and we come to this bill, and now, of course, we get a whole sort of historic litany of justification, firstly from why it was that the Minister sacked them, then secondly why it was to justify him breaking his word in 2013, but no explanation as to why this bill, because what this bill does is continue to perpetuate the fact that Nick Smith broke his word. 9 years it'll be, broke his word. It just perpetuates that issue, and not one explanation from the Minister as to why the Cantabrians can't rule their own roost, why it is that they require to be babysat by commissioners who are unaccountable commissioners. I won't get into quality or lack of quality. I think there are many things the commissioners have done which are pretty good. But the point remains that they're answerable to that Minister. They're answerable to this government. In the old days, you could go to an ECAN councillor like an elected MP and say, look, I've got a problem, and you could hold their feet to the fire. The truth is that those commissioners are not responsible to the people of Canterbury, nor accountable to the people of Canterbury. They're responsible to that man sitting in that chair and his government. That's who those commissioners are responsible, like those who he will appoint to babysit the component of elected, mainly rural, but elected ECAN councillors that will be elected in respect of this piece of legislation. So we've got Jerry Brownlee who says, listen to people, Cantabrians are smart, we're going to give them what they ask for, they're smart enough, they have the spirit to actually start shouldering a major chunk of the responsibility, or greater chunks of responsibility in Canterbury. And then we have this guy who says, oh, no, we're not smart enough, we can't be trusted. And by the way, not only we can't trust those elected, of course, by default, the Minister's saying he doesn't trust the people of Canterbury to elect from their number smart, professional people who will actually do the job. Nick Smith doesn't trust the people of Canterbury. That's effectively what he's saying. Because, sir, Mr. Chair,
The Honourable Clayton
because of
Cosgrave.
Nick Smith, Mr. Chair,
Sorry, I've called the Honourable Clayton Cosgrave.
nothing changes. I say to that minister, he should actually give an explanation as to why he doesn't trust the people of Canterbury. Because as I've just said before he tried to jump in with one of his usual efforts, that by not allowing full elections where all Cantabrians can elect leaders from among their number, he's effectively saying that he doesn't trust those constituents to elect smart people. That's essentially what he's saying. And it'd be really good to get an explanation, not the histrionics we've heard in the speeches about what went on in 2010 and the justifications for breaking his word in 2013. No, the minister purports that this is a forward-looking piece of legislation. Well, I invite him to look in his crystal ball and forward look and give us an explanation as to why he doesn't trust the constituents that Mr. Ducey represents and other members, Ms Woods and others who represent people in Canterbury, why he doesn't trust them, why he thinks that the people they will elect, the small component that they will elect, won't be smart enough, won't be up to it, won't be trustworthy. There's a question for the minister. There's a forward-looking question. And I look forward to that answer, not the histrionics. Because the contrast between this piece of legislation, the Regenerate Christchurch bill, maybe he should go and elbow his colleague Jerry Brownlee, who does reside in Christchurch, who understands the people of Canterbury, and he demonstrated that last week. Maybe he should, give him one on the ribs and say, Jerry, why is it that you trust the people you represent, but I sit in Nelson and I don't trust these Cantabrians? I know it's not a rugby thing, but why don't I trust them? Why don't I trust them? Why do I know better, as this minister's great at telling us why he knows better than anybody else, what he knows better than his mate Jerry Brownlee, who does trust his fellow citizens, what he knows better than the people of Canterbury. He's demonstrated that he's broken his word. He's demonstrated that he can't justify this continuing. I ask him now to demonstrate why he doesn't trust Cantabrians.
Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Nick Smith.